The 2022 NFL Draft is quickly approaching, and months of hard work from NFL front offices, NFL coaches, and scouting departments, and of course years and years of hard work from NFL draft prospects will come to fruition. And while it will be kisses and hugs and all smiles for a short period of time, the players drafted and the coaches of the said NFL teams will essentially get right back to work for rookie camp and determine how they will use the draft picks for the upcoming season and determine how involved each and every rookie will be. But not every rookie coming in can be a Micah Parsons, Jamar Chase, Justin Herbert, or Justin Jefferson, and unfortunately there will be some draft busts, and with how the 2022 NFL Draft is going to play out, it's going to get some people fired, and in today's video we're going to break it all down, and without further ado, let's begin. And when discussing the 2022 NFL Draft, there's a couple of things that have to be established right off the bat. This class does not have the top of the line, Chase Young, Myles Garrett, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence prospects in this class, and that's fine. But what this class has is a lot of good players, and teams flat out can't win Super Bowls without good players. Now, just because this draft class doesn't have the elite of elite players, it does not automatically make this class bad or worthless or really any word you could use that has a negative connotation. And because of that, the not having any elite prospects and no true number one pick, I think the 2022 NFL Draft process has been a lot of, we're going to talk up a lot of prospects and try and make them out to be a lot better than what they are, and with this specific situation, I'm talking about Travon Walker from Georgia. And no disrespect is intended here to Travon as much as it is praise for someone like Kayvon Thibodeaux or Aiden Hutchinson, but we're having legitimate conversations about a player who is a good run defender in Travon, potentially going number one overall. Yes, I am aware of his measurements on Mock Draftable and how much of a freak athlete he is, but there is so much projection and there's so much belief that Travon is going to become Danielle Hunter at the next level, who, if you could guarantee Walker would become that player and also stay healthy, which Danielle has unfortunately not been able to do over the past 2 years, he would very much be worth a top 5 overall pick. Period. Danielle was the youngest player in NFL history to reach 50 sacks, and more than likely would have been the youngest to X sack total if he could have stayed healthy over the past 2 years. You throw in the number, Danielle would have been the youngest to get there. But his pass rush is nowhere near developed to where you want a top 3 overall pick to be. That is, of course, talking about Travon Walker. And to be honest with you guys, it scares the shit out of me for whichever team takes him in the top 5. I'd be the most confident in him being a good NFL player if he were to go play under Robert Saleh and the New York Jets, but I don't think they would make that pick if he's on the board, assuming Kayvon Thibodeaux is still there. And by the way, the title of today's video does not apply to the singular team that takes Travon Walker and they are doomed and forever done for. There is a possibility Travon becomes a good NFL player, and 3 years from now we're laughing at how ridiculous it was that there were concerns around Travon's game when he came out of the University of Georgia. There could also be the other side of that, and you have someone like Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Allen tearing it up in Jacksonville, and Travon Walker has a combined 11 sacks in 3 seasons. But another thing with this draft class is the lingering effects and long-term effects of COVID that we all saw worldwide, but it is more than trickled into the NFL draft, and this will probably be the peak of having COVID affecting NFL draft prospects, and more specifically what I mean by that, Devonte Wyatt, the defensive lineman from Georgia, is 24 years old before playing a snap in the NFL. Bernard Raymond, the tackle from Central Michigan, will be 25 in September, and the age with prospects is something we've never seen before. This is truly uncharted waters in the NFL draft community because, of course, we've had old prospects before, but not to this magnitude. And unless you're on the clock in the first round with an absolute slam dunk in front of you as the GM of any NFL team at a position you need, there's not a lot of prospects where you look at and think, yep, he's 21 or 22, and by the time he's 24 or 25, he can be a Pro Bowl level player, and we can mold this guy and have him be a good to great player for us for the next 7 to 9 years. There are a ton of prospects that are older, and I think at some point in the next year or two, after you see the results from the 2022 NFL Draft, the same way we are currently seeing the results from the 2020 NFL Draft, jobs will be lost because of taking a 24-year-old prospect that is not worth a first-round pick when you missed out on the 22-year-old that's an above-average starter. And to go back to 2019 for a minute, there's a couple of picks I want to highlight. And before we do this, I fully realize this can be done with every draft in the history of NFL drafts, but there's a reason we're doing this. And in 2019, the Raiders selected Clelin Ferrell number 4 overall, which was a reach at the time as Devin White, the linebacker who plays for the Bucs, was there, and there was legitimate thought he was going to be a Raider. The difference here between that class and 2022 is Devin White was an extremely good prospect, and he was viewed as generational isn't the correct word because Roquan Smith was selected exactly 1 year before him, but he was viewed as a very, very good prospect. And my point with this is Mike Mayock and John Gruden both are now fired, and whether that was Gruden's selection or not is something entirely different, but my point is there were clearly better prospects available then, and everyone knew it. And it also didn't help Cleveland was viewed as a mid to late first that year, but there's not a ginormous gap in talent between picks 7 and 15 and 13 and 25 this year like there has been in other draft classes. And also in the same year in 2019, Dave Gettleman, the former Giants GM, took Dexter Lawrence, the nose tackle, when Jeffrey Simmons was available, and Simmons has been a beast for the Titans. And how this correlates to 2022 is I think we're going to see more picks like this than ever before. Outside of Travon Walker, who I do believe is an outlier because of his sheer athleticism and the projection, I think Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, Kayvon, Hutch, and a few other guys are safe to bet on in the NFL, and I don't think the Giants at 5 or 7, if they pick Sauce Gardner, are going to be mocked 3 years from now and say, I can't believe they took him over Charles Cross, the now Panthers all-pro tackle. You know what I mean? But if there's a team like the New Orleans Saints at pick 16 versus the Chargers at 17 who both need a tackle, I think this is where you could see absolutely horrific selections a couple years from now, like if the Saints take Trevor Penning at 16, or the aforementioned Bernard Ryman, who will be 25 in his rookie season, and the Chargers take someone like Jamison Williams at 17, and then we say, look how that's panned out. And if that were to happen for the Saints, if they did take Penning or Ryman, and either of those guys did not work out, then Jameis would be in for a long couple of years. I think this class has a lot more implications on front office's futures than normal because of there being no consensus slam dunk picks, and that also plays into the unpredictability of the 2022 NFL Draft. And there's always famous tweets about the draft, and of course the best ones you'll come across really in the history of Twitter are the ones from 2017 or 2018 that basically say Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen just have big arms and they'll never be able to read an NFL defense. And I think this class for both sides, good and bad, are going to have a record-setting number of tweets like this because of the polarization that is the 2022 NFL Draft class. For teams like the New York Jets, who have 6 wins in the past 2 years, but also have 4 top 40 picks, it's hard imagining that they'll be 4 for 4 in terms of drafting just bad football players, especially when 2 of those picks are in the top 10. And even for Seattle, a team who has 3 top 41 picks, while they won't get a blue chip prospect at 9, they can lay the start to the foundation of the rebuild if they hit on these picks. Now, if they go 1 for 3 or 0 for 3, I would expect a new regime to come in, and soon at that, but like with the Jets, I can't imagine them missing on all of the picks. For another team that has a lot of selections in the top 40, looking at you, Detroit, the thing that worries me is they're going to take the cheese on Travon Walker at 2 and potentially draft a quarterback at 32 to get that 5th-year option and have him develop behind Jared Goff. I love everything Detroit is doing, but to me, I'm not a huge guy to comment L or trash on mock drafts after reading them. Shout out to people that do without providing context within that, of course. But I couldn't imagine a worse first round for the Lions if they indeed go this route. And I said this could be an all-time tweet class. That right there could be an all-time bad take by myself, that if Detroit takes Travon, Dan Campbell helps mold him into a future NFL stud. But with the volatility we've seen throughout the NFL draft process this year, such as Kyle Hamilton at one point in time being a top 3 pick and having him consistently mocked to the Lions and Texans, now to the point where the Texans may actually be able to get him at pick 13, this is something I haven't said in any of the past 5 years, and it's that truly no one knows what will happen, as we currently don't know who the number 1 overall pick will be. This is a take I will stand on, and it's that if Desmond Ridder is a first round pick, then that's a GM that will eventually be canned, due in some part, though not necessarily solely to that, but that decision. I am not a Desmond guy by any means, and if you're taking him in the first, I would simply ask why not go for Carson Strong, or try and trade up to get either Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis at that point. I can't wait for the draft, and as I record this, it is a singular week away, and there will be tons of content draft weekend, and I am very much looking forward to all of it. But until next time, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because it would truly mean the world. And until next time, please be safe, and have a great day. Love you guys.